Welcome to week 3. This week, our theme is fall in traditional Chinese medicine. So yin yoga as a practice is already sort of a mashup of traditional yogic philosophy and asanas or the poses, breath work, etc. And then with sort of an overlay of some concepts from traditional Chinese medicine, including the concept of yin and yang, yin being the what we call passive or feminine, not as a gender, but as a concept. It is the darkness, the stillness, the quiet, versus yang, which is the light, the energy, the masculine. So yin yoga that we've been practicing is in fact a more passive, quiet, introspective style of yoga than the more yang, more active styles of yoga that you may find in a lot of studios out there. So we're already incorporating some of that traditional Chinese medicine concept into our practice just by it being a yin practice. One of the other places that there's some really lovely kind of overlap between the two theories is as it relates to the traditional Chinese medicine's concept of meridians. If you've ever gone to acupuncture, had acupressure, a lot of those practices like that are based on hitting key points along what are known as the meridians. The meridians correspond, among many other things, to the primary elements and organs that traditional Chinese medicine identifies in the body. So as part of fall, the season of fall in traditional Chinese medicine is corresponding with the element of metal, which relates to the lungs as the yin organ of the pair, and then the large intestine as the yang compatriot of that. And so those two organs and their related emotions, what they relate to in the body, and their balance correspond to sort of one another. So today's practice is going to focus on both the actual position of some of those organs, like our lower intestines will have some twists, and then the compression and release of the meridian lines related to those organs and the season of fall. And both of those meridians, the primary meridian for those organs, are along your torso. So we'll have some arm binds. And then also because of the correspondence to lungs, we'll be doing a fair bit of breath work tonight as well. I'm gonna go ahead and get our timer started so I keep us on track. And I invite you to now go ahead and please bring your eyes closed, get into a comfortable seated position. If you have a cushion nearby and you like a little cushion, then please feel free. I just have a little blanket under my bottom. Otherwise, just find a comfortable seated position, or what we call easy pose. And we are going to get started. So bring your eyes closed if you hadn't yet. And as usual, we'll begin by just bringing our awareness to our breath. No judgment, no efforts to change, just become aware, perhaps for the first time today, of the fact that without even having to ask, your lungs are constantly pulling in, circulating, and expressing air to keep our bodies nourished and moving. Beautiful breath. We'll be working with you a lot today. So with the season and the intentions that we've discussed around heart opening, protection, around gratitude and abundance, I invite you, or if anything is calling to you otherwise, I invite you to take a moment and identify an intention for your practice this evening. Tonight, mine will be just acknowledging and giving thanks to my lungs for doing this work all day without me always paying attention to them. And then if you want to go ahead and open your eyes, I want to start before we start breathing by introducing you to what's known as a mudra in yogic practice. So mudras refer to hand positions, and there's a number of them. And they are a sort of science of their own as part of the Ayurvedic practices. They can support our work in asana as well as in pranayama or breath work. Tonight, we'll be doing one that's fairly well known. It's probably the best known mudra from yoga, and that is the Jnana mudra. It's the one you see all the time when you see yogis meditating or the Buddha in statues. What you're going to do is you're going to bring the tip of your forefinger to just inside the pad of your thumb and then leave the rest of your fingers out straight. And we're going to do that with both hands, and we're going to bring those to our knees. This mudra, among other things, is known as the wisdom mudra or connection and communication, but it also is really good for balancing the lower chakra, which we discussed last week, which also corresponds to the lower or the large intestine. And though to my knowledge, the mudra was not designed to incorporate this, in traditional Chinese medicine, the meridians for our lungs and our large intestine and in these two fingers. So for tonight's practice, it feels nice to bring them into a sort of closed circuit with this mudra as well. And now that our mudra is in place, we're going to start with a 3-part breath. So it's going to force us to utilize the entire torso as it relates to how we breathe. And it's going to draw our breath in and out a little longer. Those longer cycles of breath work, especially a longer exhale than inhale, help to bring the body into a more relaxed, regulated state that we're looking for to help create balance in these different meridians, these organs, and to sort of work with the energies of the season. So the breath is going to be 3 parts. In the first part, we'll breathe into our low bellies. I invite you for the first practice to go ahead and come out of the mudra and place one hand on your low belly and one on your upper belly. And we'll be breathing into our first hand, our low belly, and then our midsection, and then finally into our lungs up here. We'll pause for a bit, and then we'll take a really long extended exhale. So for this first round, go ahead and put your hands there. It just helps bring awareness to those parts of your body you might not be used to sort of actively engaging in your breath. So inhale for 3 at the first place. So inhale 1, 2, 3 at the bottom. Inhale 2, 3 in the middle. Inhale up top, hold, and then exhale for a count of 6. So now bring your hands back into Jnana Mudra, and I will count us through a round, and then I'll invite everyone to keep their own pace for a few rounds. So when you're ready, we'll inhale to our bottom. Inhale, inhale middle, inhale upper chest, hold, exhale slowly through your nose. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, lower belly. Inhale, midsection. Let your ribs spread wide. Inhale across your chest. Let your collarbones open. Hold. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now go ahead and do 2 more rounds of that at your own pace. And as you conclude your final extended exhale, I invite you to bring your eyes back open, and we will get into the next round of breathing style. And that is, I don't know that it has a specific name actually in yogic practice. I'm calling it sip, sip, exhale. So what it will be is 2 short inhales as if you're sipping through a straw with your mouth. So, and in those 2 quick inhales, we'll do everything we can to fill up as much as possible. And then we'll take a long exhale. So Jnana Mudra, feel free to bring your eyes back closed, and we'll go inhale. Inhale again through your mouth 2 quick times. And exhale slowly through your nose. One more time together, and then we'll do it at our own pace. And now at your own pace, 2 quick inhales through pursed lips as if through a straw, and then a slower 4 to 6 count exhale, whatever feels comfortable and maybe a little stretchy to you. Now, as you're doing that breath cycle, as we did in the first breath, 3-part breath, while you're taking those quick, big inhales, really think about activating the lower parts of your belly where your diaphragm is to allow the expansion for that breath to come in, and not taking shallow breaths up just into the lungs up here. So a giveaway if you're breathing from in your upper torso is that your shoulders might rise while you're breathing. So if they're staying very still, it's a good sign that you're probably breathing from the lower part of your abdomen. We'll do a couple more rounds. When you finish the round you're in, return to your normal breathing. And we'll just spend a couple rounds of breath here, just letting the breath fall in and out naturally. And for our final breath technique of the evening, we'll be performing Ujjayi breath, which if you've never heard of before, can seem a little tricky to get to, but the best way I can try and describe it is if you were snoring, like fakely, like making fun of snoring, like, like that kind of thing, right? But instead of bringing that through your nose and making that noise, you're going to bring it through your nose, but you're just going to keep the constriction in your throat, and you're not trying to get that loud, like snorting, heavy snoring sound. So it is sometimes called ocean breath because inside our own heads, we can hear that air moving through our constricted throat in a way that sounds kind of like if you like hold a shell up to your ear, or you just hear the sound of the waves crashing. So go ahead, and if you had opened your eyes, bring them back closed, return your hands to Jnana Mudra. And just let's bring our awareness back to our breath for a few rounds as we just were. Nothing different, just breathe. And then begin to constrict the throat and start to breathe in the Ujjayi breath. So I don't know if my microphone will pick it up for you, but you'll hear a gentle don't know if you're getting that, but that's where we're going for. You should feel a little bit of constriction around the throat, and you should be able to hear as if you were snoring without making an audible sound that someone else standing next to you might hear. And we'll inhale. Exhale the same way. Continue with the breathing, but really try to make sure that your jaw and your face, your tongue inside your mouth are relaxed, that you're not scrunching up your face trying to support the throat constriction. Maybe now you begin to count out a more even breathing cycle. So maybe you breathe in for 4 counts and out for 4 counts. If that doesn't feel like a little longer than your normal breath cycle, I invite you to go up to 6 or even 8. Come back to normal breathing. Flutter your eyes open, and we will begin the asana part of our practice. So first, we're going to do eagle arms. We're going to stay seated in this comfortable position. Feel free at this point to recross your legs in the other direction if anything's getting a little tense. And for eagle arms, what we're going to do is bring our arms out to the sides. We're going to start by bringing our right arm underneath our left. So we're going to bring our arms forward in front of us and cross at the elbows, right under left. Now, I don't have a ton of flexibility here. So where I'm going to live is just grabbing my shoulders like this. This is a nice sort of entry point into eagle arms. I will attempt to show you what the full arm bind looks like, and that is where your arms actually come all the way around like this. This is not accessible for me in a long time period. If it is for you, awesome. This is where we're trying to get to. For tonight, I'll be here. And once you're here, go ahead and check in with the bottom half of you. Make sure your sit bones are evenly weighted on the floor or your cushioning, and your torso is elevated. We're sitting up straight. Our shoulders are, to the best of our ability, relaxed down our backs in spite of this movement forward. And then we're going to think about just trying to raise our elbows up a few inches towards the ceiling into more of a parallel line with the floor beneath us. And from here, we're going to breathe. Throughout the entire practice tonight, you are welcome at any time in these positions to return to the Ujjayi breath. It is a pranayama that you can very easily practice in conjunction with the asana or poses and the flow. So you're welcome to practice that here, and it may help find peace and stillness if the edge in a pose is particularly sticky. So just a few more rounds of breath here before we switch sides. Spine straight, as if we had a string all along our spine coming up through the top of our head, as if we were puppets on a string and are just hanging out, lifting up our heads to the sky and The rest of us beneath that is just relaxed in this pose. And on your next exhale, go ahead and release. Find arms back down to your sides. Take a breath here. Maybe roll your shoulders out a little bit, forward and backward. And we're going to go ahead and do the other side. So we're going to inhale our arms out to our sides and bring them forward to meet. This time we're going to bring our left arm under our right, crossing at the elbows. Again, just grabbing onto your shoulders is a beautiful expression of all of the benefits of this pose. If you have the space, this one's going to be essentially is what the full arm position looks like and what you're aiming toward. So I invite you, if you have that in your practice, to be there for this. And then we will close our eyes, sink our hips heavily into the floor, let our ribs, shoulders, head float up as if being held on a string, and come to our breath. All right, and then let's go ahead and try and inch our elbows up a little bit away from the floor, making sure our shoulders stay dropped. And that definitely brought my edge closer. So if it did for you, just keep coming back to your breath. Just a few more rounds of breath here. Make sure as we hold in that you're not sagging or slumping. If something feels painful, do back away, but otherwise hug that edge, stay in your breath. And on your next exhale, go ahead and release your arms back down to your sides. I'm going to turn around to show you what the next arm position looks like, because it's going to be behind me. So this next one is called cow face arms. And we're going to start the same way. I'll show you and then I'll turn back around and I'll cue you through it with me. So just so you can see what it looks like, we're going to come up. And from here, oh, I apologize. We're going to actually kind of windmill. So one arm will come up, one will come down. The goal is to have them meet in the middle into a clasp. But again, if you're not there, I invite you to kind of grab your shirt if you need, if you aren't reaching fingertips, and that just helps give your arm something to stay into. And then when we come the other direction, it'll be like that. So get yourself settled. And we're going to inhale. We're going to bring our right arm up, our left arm behind us. And then we're going to bring both to try and meet in the middle. And if your fingertips aren't reaching, remember, you can grab the back of your shirt, especially with your upper hand, so it has some traction. And though it may seem difficult, we're going to try and relax our shoulders down away from our ears. Our neck is long and relaxed. We want to make sure we're not kind of rounding forward. If you're unable to take the bind and stay straight, then maybe loosen it up a little bit. And maybe your top hand just comes to rest gently at the base of your skull. We're not going to be here for too long. Don't worry, friends. Just a few more rounds of breath now. On your next exhale, go ahead and release. Bring your arms back out to the side and then down to reset for the other side. So this time we're gonna sweep our left arm up, our right arm back behind us. Get that up as high as you can. And then bring that left hand either to the fingertips or to grab onto the back of your shirt, or if this is really sticky, just your hand to the back of your head, but make sure we're not pressing forward. Shoulders drop away from the ears. Spine is long, lifted out up from the hips, and we breathe. So in the meridian system, the way that they work is that energy flows, chi or prana, flows along these channels in the body. And there are points in particular, which are often addressed specifically by acupuncture or acupressure, that are primary points, but at any point along that channel, stagnation or blockage can occur from physical impairment, from emotional, from stress that we're holding on to. All sorts of things can affect that flow. What yin or any kind of yoga or movement can do to benefit that is with this sort of compression that we have in our arms right now, and then go ahead and exhale, release your arms. With that release, that compression and release, it helps pump the energy along those lines so that it flows and releases blockages. And science actually has somewhat recently discovered that there is a actual physical component that maps roughly to the meridian system. So it's pretty cool stuff. From here, we're gonna do a little bit of a twist from this same seated easy position. We're gonna go ahead and inhale our arms up. And then our exhale, as we bring our arms down, we're gonna twist towards the right side. Our left hand comes to our right knee, our right hand comes behind us. Your head can stay sort of neutrally forward, or if you have the space for the stretch, you can bring your head to look over your back right shoulder. A few breaths here. Go ahead and inhale. Arms come up and we return to center. And as we exhale, our arms come down and twist to the left. Right hand to left knee, left hand to the ground behind us to assist in the twist. Neck can be neutral or looking back over your left shoulder. Take a few breaths here. Go ahead and inhale, arms sweep up, back to center. And we'll go a few more rounds either side. So inhale up, exhale, twist to the right. A few breaths here. As we inhale, we think about lengthening our spine up. And as we exhale, maybe we get a little more twist. Inhale, bring your arms back up and come to center. Exhale to the left. Inhale, spines grow long. Exhale, maybe a little bit deeper of a twist. Inhale, arms come up, come to center. Last round, exhale to the right. Inhale, arms come up, return to center. And exhale, twist to the left. Shoulders drop down. ahead and inhale your arms back up, come to center. Exhale them down by your sides. And join me in tabletop position, if you will. So if you had a cushion, go ahead and get that out of your way. We're going to come to our neutral tabletop position. Hands are under our shoulders, knees and hips are stacked as square as can be. Go ahead, I invite you, I don't know if you can see my hand, go ahead, and so if your hands are on the mat, maybe turn them a little bit outwards, almost more like duck feet, like a little out to the side. And that'll just help give us a little bit more space in our wrists, which we're actually about to do some stretches for. So first step is I invite you to really kind of maybe take some gentle rocks back and forth, exploring what it feels like to increase and lessen the pressure onto your hands and through your wrists. As we're doing that, we really want to think about pressing all of the base of all of our fingers into the mat and our fingers into the mat. And just that middle part of our palm is maybe just ever so slightly pulled away from the floor, as if a tiny, tiny little space, well, just a tiny space is there. So go ahead now and maybe do a few sort of little circles with your wrists, left and right. You got your whole body in this, but the pressure is increasing and decreasing on your wrists. And from here, we're gonna turn our hands even further out to the sides so that they're totally along facing the sides of the mat. So that our hands are basically like this on the mat. And then we're just gonna kind of do the same thing, just kind of give it some wiggles, maybe do some little circles. Go back in the other direction. Come forward, backward, maybe rock back and forth a few times. Just kind of really let yourself explore all the places where there's maybe some stickiness in different parts of your wrist and forearm. Come back to neutral, and we're going to walk our hands backwards now. So they're going to come like this, and you may need to bring your knees in closer for this. I do. So what we're basically now is our hands are going to be down like this, coming, so our fingers are pointing towards our knees. And this one can be a little sticky. So be gentle, loving and kind with yourself. We rock back and forth, side to side, maybe some super tiny little circles here. The other direction. All right, go ahead and release them back to their normal neutral forward position. And go ahead and sort of sit back on your heels. And we're just going to kind of bring your hands together, clasp your hands like this. We're just going to do a few wrist rolls very gently to kind of reset from some of those stretches. Bring it the other way. And then go ahead and bring your hands out, your arms to the sides, and make fists with your thumbs up, and then bring your thumbs just closed over the tops of your fists. And then think about if you had a pitcher in each hand, and you're going to tip as if you're trying to pour your beverage into glasses on two opposite sides of you. Release. Now kind of try the opposite motion a little bit, as if you were bringing it in towards yourself. Beautiful. Just a few wrist rolls, other direction. Your hands and forearms, your wrists may be feeling kind of warm right now. So that's both, we may be opening up some muscle tissue to let some more blood flow in, but also the chi and prana is flowing now as we're moving into these spaces. All right, lovely friends, from here, we're going to come into broken wing. So I will demonstrate on one side. Hopefully you'll be able to see it clearly. And then we'll go through it. So I invite you to come down onto your bellies. And I'll try going this way first. So you're going to bring your arm out to the side on the ground and bring your opposite leg behind you and twist so that you are really stretching across the front of that left shoulder in this case. So on the other side from the front, it looks like this, and your arm is hanging out back here behind you. All right. So come onto our bellies in neutral position. Go ahead and just take a second, rest your forehead on the floor. Bring your right arm out to the side. And using your left hand and left foot, go ahead and roll yourself onto your side. You might need to walk your right hand further behind you. And if this is as stretchy as it can be, stay here, relax your shoulder, find your breath. For a slightly deeper version, you can bring your foot to the ground like this in a sort of bent knee position, either in front or behind your bottom leg. And this just helps give you a little bit more leverage for the twist. Again, a reminder, at any point, you can return to Ujjayi breath. Whether it's Ujjayi or just your normal breath, stay here and breathe into that edge. On your next exhale, release and roll yourself back on to your belly. Bring your hands in under your forehead for just a quick second. And we're going to bring our hands back down by our sides. Bring our left hand out to the side. And using our right hand and foot, we'll roll ourselves over onto our side. Your hand may need to walk back a little bit. Again, if legs parallel and stacked is all the stretch that your shoulder will comfortably take here, stay here. You're welcome to bring your foot to the floor in a bent knee, either behind or in front of your knee, whichever feels more comfortable. And your right hand can find any place that helps to sort of prop you up and give you a little tension in the pose. And then once you find it, return to your breath. So this pose is kind of doing double duty for our two major areas tonight. We're getting some good stretching and attention along our meridians on the arms, but we're also getting a little bit of a twist in support of just our general digestive organs. Go ahead and exhale yourself back down to your belly. And bring your hands together under your forehead for a second. From here, we're going to do what's known as bow tie pose. It's going to be kind of similar to what we were doing in eagle arms. So come up to your elbows and cross your arms. Let's see if I can sort of demonstrate to the front so you can still see. So you're going to cross your arms in front of you. You can just barely see that. Great. And then you're going to bring them forward and come further into the cross and rest into that. So from the side, we've got our arms crossed. Go ahead and go right closer to you, left further away first. Stretch. Switch your arms. So your left arm is closer and your right arm is further away. And then kind of walk your hands away. And come to just resting on your elbows like we were before. We're going to come into a Sphinx pose. So we're going to make sure that our elbows are as under our shoulders as possible. Our forearms are going to be flat on the floor in front of us. Really sink your hip bones down in on the front. Get your legs long. Plant the tops of your feet into the floor or mat behind you. And then go ahead and inhale, pressing into the full forearm and hand and lifting your heart up and forward, just slightly deepening that back bend. We're keeping our shoulders dropped away from our ears. Keep our heads up unless it's causing you discomfort, in which case go ahead and drop it down. But for right now, if you can, go ahead and keep it in a more active position. And right now, we're really more focused on the sensation of pressing those forearms and hands into the mat and that tension, as if we could pull ourselves forward or the floor towards us to draw our chest further forward. So this is not our deepest back bend. And breathe. At this point, if you haven't, feel free to let your head drop down fully. Relax your neck. Make sure you're keeping your shoulders relaxed down actively and not let them slump up. A few more rounds of breath here, with our focus really being on that tension in our forearms and hands pressing into the ground. Beautiful. And exhale, lower yourself down to the mat. Bring your hands under your forehead.
Doesn't matter which hand's on top for right now. We're just going to take a quick little reset here. Let gravity sink you into the ground. Release any of the tension from the last few poses. And come to your breath. Make sure your shoulders are relaxed away from your ears and you're not holding any residual tension in them. At this point, gently lift your head up so you can switch which hand is on top, whichever one you had on the bottom before. And then sink back in. And breathe. On your next inhale, go ahead and prop yourself up a little bit and let's roll over to our backs now for bananasana. So what we're aiming for is to kind of make a banana shape with our bodies, and that's going to help create a nice stretch along the arm and along the side of the body and then through the hip. So from laying position, you're going to bring our arms overhead, and first we'll go to our right. So we're going to grab our right wrist with our left hand back to the floor, and we're going to bring our left foot over our right ankle. And from here now, we're just going to kind of move our feet to the left corner of the mat, and our upper body kind of gets a little bit of a bend, and we gently pull our right arm over towards the left. And we're getting a nice little sort of curved banana type shape. And come to your breath. You should feel this beautiful stretch anywhere along your arm, maybe under your armpit, which is great because you've got lymph nodes there. So getting some of that contraction and release helps pump our lymph around our bodies as well. And that's sort of part of our body's clearinghouse. The lymph helps our immune system stay regulated and move those toxins out of parts of our body to our liver to be flushed. So it's good to make sure we're getting some good movement in there as well. You may also be feeling this along your hip, along the outside of your leg. As you breathe, pay attention to any space you've begun to gain in between your hip and your lowest ribs, and in the intercostal spaces between your ribs. Again, at any time, you can return to your Ujjayi breath. And when you're ready, go ahead and exhale. Come back to the center, uncross, unclasp. Do any wiggles you need to get yourself back into a nice neutral spine on your back. And bring our arms back overhead. This time we are grabbing our left wrist with our right hand and bringing our right foot over our left ankle. We're going to move our feet to the right bottom corner and give a slight curve to our upper bodies, bringing our left hand to the right upper corner of our mat. And relax in. Find your breath. Relax your jaw, relax your neck. You don't really need to be involved here. Let the breath really expand that left side body. All right, beautiful friends, go ahead and exhale, release the hold, uncross your legs. Bring your feet to the mat with bent knees and just take a second. Maybe let's do some windshield wipers, just kind of reset a little bit from that stretch. And now we're going to come into a reclining twist as our final pose before we head into Shavasana. And we're going to really try and enjoy some of this movement. So bring your arms out to the side. Go ahead and walk your feet closer to your hips. Bump your hips slightly over to the left. Pick your knees up, drop them to the right. And then kind of try and reset your torso, bringing your left arm back down. The goal is for shoulder to be on the floor behind you while knees stay over here. But if all we can do tonight is imagine that our shoulders are touching the ground behind us and just hang out in whatever feels that edge, but not painful. We don't want any pulling, any sharp or sort of electrical buzzing sensations. Those are all signs you want to back out. We can keep our right hand on our knees to help kind of hold them in place to deepen the twist. And you're welcome if you'd like to turn your neck back to face looking over your left hand. Wherever you are in this posture, find stillness and return to your breath. beautiful friends. Go ahead and release and inhale your knees back into the center. Go ahead and walk your feet back in towards your hips. This time, lift up and bump your hips a little over to the right. Bring your knees in and drop them down to the floor on the left side. And then go ahead and reset that torso, bringing your right arm out in a T shape to the side. You can leave your head up at the ceiling, or you can deepen the twist and bring your head to look over your right hand. Left hand can come to the knees to sort of hold them down and help deepen the twist. And when you find the edge, bring stillness and come to your breath. On your next inhale, release. And bring your knees back into center. Adjust yourself into a nice, straight, neutral position. Let's bring our knees in, give ourselves a little bit of a hug. Just kind of counter some of that twisting energy. And then let your legs fall down to the ground, to the side. Let your feet fall open. We're coming into Shavasana, our final resting pose. Our hands are a little away from our sides. Our palms are open and facing the sky. Our shoulders are relaxed down away from our ears. If you haven't already, please bring your eyes closed. And let's return to our Ujjayi breath as we settle into our Shavasana. As we did at the beginning of class, I invite you to deepen and lengthen your inhales and exhales, keeping them even, but perhaps a count or two longer than you would naturally do them. It's perfectly acceptable to count in your head. Release the Ujjayi breathing. Return to your normal style of breath, but keep the extended inhales and exhales. Keep your focus on your breath, but release trying to control it. Just notice as it falls naturally in and out. Begin to bring your awareness back to the room around you, to the physical body that you inhabit. Maybe bring a little bit of movement to your fingers, toes, give them some gentle wiggles, maybe a few wrist or ankle rolls. And when you're ready, roll onto whichever side feels comfortable and come up to a easy seated position. If you can do all of that with your eyes closed, then beautiful. If not, once you get seated, go ahead and bring your eyes back closed. Oh, sigh a deep breath out. Inwardly smile to yourself. Bring your hands together in prayer, bow your head, and just thank yourself, your body, your lungs, your large intestine, all of your other organs for continuing to do what they need to do to keep you going all day. Thank yourself, acknowledge yourself for showing up tonight. I thank you. I acknowledge you for joining me tonight. I appreciate you. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Namaste, friends. Thank you. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. And please feel free to check out that PDF I sent you after week 1 for any additional supporting practices throughout the week. Thank you all and have a beautiful night.